I was halfway through a pint of Ben and Jerry's, sprawled on our living room couch in sweatpants and a ratty college t-shirt, binge-watching some true crime documentary, when my roommate Tyler burst through the door with someone I'd never seen before. "Yo, Jordan, hope you don't mind, but David's crashing here tonight." I looked up, spoon still in my mouth, to see Tyler grinning like an idiot and gesturing to the guy standing behind him. And let me tell you, I nearly choked on my ice cream. David was, well, he was beautiful. Tall, maybe 6'1", with dark curly hair that looked like he'd just run his hands through it, sharp cheekbones, and eyes so blue they reminded me of the ocean on a clear day. He was wearing a simple black t-shirt and jeans, but he wore them the way some people wear designer suits, with an easy confidence that suggested he had no idea how good he looked. I said eloquently, very aware that I had ice cream on my chin and probably looked like a disaster. "Yeah, sure, no problem." "Thanks, man," David said, and his voice was deep and warm with just a hint of an accent I couldn't quite place. "I really appreciate it. My airbnb fell through last minute and I'm flying out tomorrow afternoon. Tyler said you wouldn't mind." Tyler said I wouldn't mind. Tyler, who knew damn well that I'd been single for 8 months and was apparently trying to kill me by bringing home someone who looked like they'd walked off a magazine cover. "It's cool," I managed, finally removing the spoon from my mouth and setting down my ice cream. "We've got a couch," it pulls out into a bed. "Perfect," Tyler clapped David on the shoulder. "See, told you Jordan was chill, we're gonna grab some food, you want anything?" "I'm good," I said, gesturing to my ice cream. "Your loss, come on David, let's hit that taco place on 5th. And just like that, they were gone, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the sudden realization that I was going to have to spend the evening in close proximity to possibly the most attractive man I'd ever seen in real life. I looked down at myself, stained sweatpants, hole in my shirt, hair that hadn't been washed in 2 days. "Great," I muttered, grabbing my phone to text Tyler. "You could have warned me you were bringing someone home. I look like a homeless person." His response came a minute later. "You always look like a homeless person. It's part of your charm," face blowing a kiss. "I hate you." "Love you too, roomie. We'll be back in an hour." I had an hour. I could work with an hour. I took the fastest shower of my life, actually washed my hair with shampoo instead of just letting the water run over it, and changed into clean clothes. Nothing fancy, just jeans and a navy blue Henley that my sister had once said brought out my eyes or something. I even attempted to style my hair, though my light brown waves had a mind of their own and mostly did what they wanted. Then I cleaned up the living room, which meant shoving all my stuff into my bedroom and closing the door. I pulled out the couch bed, found the spare sheets in the linen closet, and made it up with the kind of hospital corners my mom had taught me when I was 12. By the time Tyler and David got back, the apartment looked almost presentable, and I looked marginally less like someone who'd given up on life. "Whoa," Tyler said, looking around, "did you clean?" "Shut up." David laughed, a sound that did unfortunate things to my stomach. "Place looks great, thanks again for letting me crash." "No problem," I said, and this time I managed to say it without sounding like a strangled cat. "Progress." They'd brought back tacos anyway. Apparently Tyler had assumed I was lying about not being hungry, which was fair because I usually was. We sat around our tiny dining table, and I learned that David was a photographer from Seattle, in town for a wedding he'd been hired to shoot. He and Tyler had gone to summer camp together as kids and had stayed in touch over the years. "Tyler never mentioned he had a roommate," David said, looking at me with those impossibly blue eyes. "I'm very forgettable," I said. "Jordan's a web developer," Tyler interjected. "Works from home, which means he mostly sits around in his underwear coding and eating cereal for every meal." "I wear pants," I protested, "sometimes." David grinned, living the dream. "What about you? What's it like being a photographer?" And that was it. We were off. David told us about his work, about traveling to shoot weddings and events, about the time he'd accidentally dropped a camera into a lake during a proposal shoot and had to dive in after it. Tyler chimed in with embarrassing stories from their camp days, and I found myself relaxing, laughing, enjoying the evening in a way I hadn't expected. David was easy to talk to, funny, smart. He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room when he was listening to you, his full attention focused on your words like they mattered. It was dangerous. I could feel myself starting to like him, which was stupid because he was leaving tomorrow and I'd probably never see him again. Around 11, Tyler announced he was going to bed. He had an early shift at the hospital where he worked as a nurse and he needed his beauty sleep. "You two keep it down out here," he said, winking at me in a way that made me want to murder him. "Night-tie," David called. And then it was just the two of us. I should have gone to bed too, should have said goodnight and retreated to my room and avoided any further interaction. Instead, I heard myself say, "Want to watch a movie or something?" "Sure, what are you in the mood for?" We ended up putting on some action movie neither of us had seen, sitting on opposite ends of the couch with a respectable amount of space between us. But as the movie progressed, I found myself hyper-aware of his presence. The way he laughed at the funny parts, the way he ran his hand through his hair when he was concentrating, the way his leg would occasionally shift closer to mine. "This is terrible," he said about 40 minutes in. "Absolutely awful," I agreed. "Want to watch something else?" "God, yes." We switched to a comedy special, then to a nature documentary that was so soothing we both started to doze off. I jerked awake at one point to find my head had drifted onto David's shoulder. "Sorry," I mumbled, sitting up quickly. "It's fine, you were snoring." "I don't snore." "You totally snore, it's kind of cute." Cute, he'd called me cute, my brain short-circuited. I checked my phone, it was almost 2 in the morning. "We should probably sleep, you've got a flight tomorrow." "Yeah, you're right." David stood and stretched, his shirt riding up slightly to reveal a strip of toned stomach that I absolutely did not stare at. "Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Tyler said you were cool, but I wasn't sure if that was just friend bias." "Tyler thinks everyone is cool. He once befriended a guy who tried to steal his bike." "That sounds like Tyler." David smiled at me and it was soft and genuine and made my chest ache. "Seriously though, this was nice, you're easy to talk to." "So are you." We stood there for a moment, the air between us charged with something I couldn't quite name. David opened his mouth like he was going to say something, then seemed to think better of it. "Good night, Jordan." "Good night, David." I went to my room and lay in bed staring at the ceiling, knowing I wasn't going to sleep. In the morning, David would leave and that would be it. One nice evening with a stranger, nothing more. Except when I finally drifted off around 4 a.m., I dreamed about blue eyes and a smile that made me feel like maybe I wasn't as forgettable as I thought. I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of someone moving around in the kitchen. For a disoriented moment, I thought it was Tyler, but then I remembered Tyler had already left for his shift, which meant the person in my kitchen was David. I grabbed my phone, 8:47 a.m. David's flight was at 2, which gave him plenty of time, but I should probably get up and be a good host or whatever. I rolled out of bed, ran my hands through my hair in a futile attempt to tame it, and padded out to the kitchen in my sleep clothes, different sweatpants and a t-shirt that said, "I paused my game to be here." David was standing at the counter, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. He'd changed into fresh clothes, his hair damp like he'd showered, and he looked unfairly alert for someone who'd been up until 2 in the morning. "Morning," he said, smiling when he saw me. "Hope you don't mind, I made coffee, figured we could both use it." "You're a saint," I mumbled, accepting the mug he handed me. I took a sip. It was perfect, strong but not bitter, with just a hint of sweetness. "How did you know how I take my coffee?" "I guessed, you seem like a one-sugar kind of guy." "That's weirdly accurate. I'm perceptive." He leaned against the counter, cradling his own mug. "Did you sleep okay?" "Eventually, you." "Yeah, that couch bed is surprisingly comfortable, though I kept hearing this weird sound around 4 a.m., like someone was talking in their sleep." I felt my face heat. "That was probably me, I do that sometimes, sorry if I kept you up." "You didn't, it was kind of entertaining actually, something about code and dinosaurs." "Oh God," I hid my face behind my mug. "I was probably dreaming about work, I'm building a website for a museum right now." "Makes sense," he was grinning, clearly enjoying my embarrassment. "For the record, you also said something about blue eyes." I nearly spat out my coffee. "I did not." "You totally did, very clearly. The blue eyes are important." He was messing with me, he had to be. Except he was looking at me with this amused expression that suggested he was telling the truth and I wanted to die. Museum branding, I said quickly. The logo has blue in it, that's definitely what I meant. Sure. We drank our coffee in a silence that should have been awkward but somehow wasn't. David started making breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast, and I helped by staying out of his way and setting the table. You didn't have to make breakfast, I said as we sat down to eat. I wanted to, it's the least I can do for the hospitality. He paused, pushing eggs around his plate. Can I ask you something? Sure. Are you seeing anyone? The question caught me off guard. What? No, why? Just curious, Tyler mentioned you'd been single for a while. Tyler talks too much. I stabbed at my eggs. Yeah, I've been single for about 8 months. My last relationship kind of imploded. Want to talk about it? Did I? I'd barely talked about it with Tyler and he was my best friend, but something about David made me feel like I could be honest. His name was Chris, I said. We dated for 2 years. I thought we were solid, thought we were building towards something. Turns out he was building towards something too, just with someone else. He cheated on you. For 6 months with a coworker. I found out when I saw them together at a coffee shop, very clearly on a date. I laughed, but it sounded hollow. The worst part wasn't even the cheating. It was that he tried to convince me I was being paranoid when I confronted him, gaslit me for a week before he finally admitted it. That's terrible, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, live and learn, right? Now I just work and hang out with Tyler and try not to think about the fact that I'm almost 30 and starting over from scratch in the romance department. You're almost 30, I would have guessed mid-20s. 28, you. 31, and for what it's worth, starting over isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it means you get to build something better. Is that the voice of experience? David smiled ruefully. Yeah, I was engaged a few years ago, called it off 3 months before the wedding. Well, what happened? I realized I was marrying him because it seemed like the next logical step, not because I actually wanted to spend the rest of my life with him. He was a great guy, still is, but we wanted different things. He wanted to settle down, buy a house in the suburbs, have kids. I wanted to travel, build my career, not be tied down to one place. That must have been hard. It was, hurt like hell, but it was the right choice. We're still friends, actually. He's married now, has a kid on the way, he's happy. And you, are you happy? David considered the question, really thought about it. Most of the time, yeah, my job is amazing, I get to see the world, I'm doing what I love, but sometimes, he trailed off, staring into his coffee. Sometimes what? Sometimes I wonder if I made a mistake. If I gave up something real for something temporary, if I'm going to spend my whole life moving from place to place and wake up one day to realize I'm alone. The vulnerability in his voice made my chest tight. I don't think you made a mistake, I think you chose yourself, and that's brave. He looked up at me and there was something in his expression, surprise, maybe, or gratitude. Thanks, that means a lot. We finished breakfast and I helped him clean up the dishes. Our hands brushed under the running water as we washed and dried, and I felt that same electric charge from last night, like the air between us was alive with possibility. I should probably head out soon, David said, checking his phone. Flight's at 2 and I need to get through security. Right, yeah, let me help you get your stuff together. He didn't have much, just a backpack and a camera bag. We gathered his things from the living room, folded up the couch bed, and suddenly we were standing at the door saying goodbye. Thanks again for letting me crash, David said, and for the company, last night was really great. Yeah, it was, I hesitated, then pulled out my phone. Can I get your number in case you're ever in town again or whatever? I was hoping you'd ask. He rattled off his number and I saved it under David, Tyler's friend, like that would somehow make the butterflies in my stomach calm down. I'll text you so you have mine too, I said. Cool, he shouldered his bag and I thought that was it, we'd do some awkward handshake or fist bump and he'd be gone. Instead, he stepped forward and pulled me into a hug. I froze for half a second, surprised, then hugged him back. He was warm and solid and he smelled like my soap and coffee and something uniquely him. I wanted to memorize the feeling, the way my face fit perfectly against his shoulder, the way his arms felt around me. Take care of yourself, Jordan, he said softly. You too. He pulled back, smiled at me one more time, and then he was gone. I stood in the doorway for a full minute after he left, feeling the absence of him like a physical thing. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is David. Thanks again for everything. You made my last night in town memorable." I saved his number properly, just David this time, and stared at the message, trying to figure out what to say back. Finally, I settled on, "Anytime, safe travels." His response came immediately, "Talk soon." "Yeah, I'd like that." And maybe I was reading too much into it, maybe he was just being friendly. But as I went back inside and saw the coffee mugs we'd used sitting on the counter, I couldn't help but hope that "talk soon" meant something more. David texted me from the airport. Made it through security, only had to remove my shoes twice and get patted down once. TSA loves me. I laughed and texted back, "It's the devastating good looks, they find you threatening. Obviously can't help being this attractive, it's a burden. My heart bleeds for you." As it should. I expected that to be it, a friendly exchange, nothing more. But then he texted me again when he landed in Seattle, and then that evening to tell me about the wedding he was shooting the next day. And I texted back and he responded, and suddenly we were in a conversation that lasted the entire evening. It became a pattern. We texted every day, sometimes just a message or two, sometimes long conversations that stretched for hours. He'd send me photos from his shoots, beautiful candid moments of couples and families, landscapes bathed in golden light, street scenes that looked like art. I'd send him screenshots of my work, silly memes, pictures of Tyler doing stupid things around the apartment. After a week, the texts turned into phone calls. The first one happened almost by accident. I'd sent him a complicated question about camera settings because I was thinking of upgrading my own ancient camera, and instead of texting back, he'd called. "It's easier to just explain," he'd said when I answered. We talked for 2 hours. After that, we called each other a few times a week, usually late at night when we were both done with work and winding down. I learned that David was a night owl like me, that he had a cat named Shutter who hated everyone except him, that he'd wanted to be a marine biologist as a kid until he discovered photography at 14. He learned that I'd gotten into web development by accident after dropping out of law school, that I had a complicated relationship with my parents who'd never quite accepted that I was gay, that I stress baked at 2 in the morning and had once made 17 dozen cookies in a single week. 17 dozen, he'd repeated, laughing. "What did you do with them all?" "Brought them to Tyler's hospital. The nurses loved me for about a week." "I'm disappointed I missed that. I love cookies. Next time I have a stress baking episode, I'll ship you some. I'm going to hold you to that." Tyler noticed, of course. "You're smiling at your phone again," he said one evening, looking up from his own phone where he was scrolling through Instagram. "Let me guess, David. Maybe. You've got it bad, roomie." "I do not have it bad, we're just friends. Friends who text every day and talk on the phone for hours and make each other smile like idiots." Yes, that's what friends do. Tyler gave me a look that said he didn't believe me for a second. "Have you told him you like him?" "There's nothing to tell, he lives in Seattle, I live here, we had one nice evening together and now we're friends, that's it." "That's it, Jordan, come on, I've known you for 3 years, I've never seen you like this about anyone, not even Chris." That stopped me. "What do you mean?" "I mean you're different when you talk to David, lighter, happier, you actually leave the apartment now, granted only to go to the coffee shop to call him in private, but still, progress." I threw a pillow at him. "I'm not having this conversation. You can't avoid it forever. Long-distance relationships are hard, but they're not impossible." "Who said anything about a relationship? We're friends." "Keep telling yourself that, maybe you'll start believing it." But I didn't believe it, because Tyler was right, I did have it bad. I thought about David constantly, looked forward to his texts like they were little gifts throughout my day, stayed up too late talking to him on the phone even when I had early meetings the next morning. The problem was, I had no idea if he felt the same way. Sure, he texted me first sometimes. He called to hear my voice, sent me good morning messages and good night wishes, but that could all be friendship. I'd been burned before by reading too much into things, by hopping for more when more wasn't on the table. So I kept my feelings to myself and told myself that having David as a friend was enough. It wasn't, but I was getting good at lying to myself. A month after David had stayed at our apartment, he called me while I was in the middle of debugging some particularly frustrating code. "Hey," I answered, putting him on speaker so I could keep working. "What's up?" "I have a proposition for you." That got my attention. I stopped typing. "I'm listening." "I'm shooting a wedding in San Francisco in 2 weeks. Small destination wedding, just the couple and their immediate families. The job will only take 1 day, but I was thinking of making a long weekend out of it, doing some sightseeing." "That sounds nice. Come with me." I nearly dropped my phone. "What? Come to San Francisco with me? We could explore the city together, eat good food, take photos, it would be fun." My heart was racing. "David, I have work and..." "You work from home, you can work from anywhere with an internet connection. Come on, Jordan, when's the last time you took a vacation?" He had a point. I hadn't taken a real vacation in over a year, but going on a trip with David felt like a big step, like crossing a line from friendship into something else. "I'd have to check my schedule," I said weakly. "So check it, I'll wait." I pulled up my calendar, already knowing I was going to say yes. I had a few deadlines, but nothing that couldn't be adjusted. And the thought of seeing David again, of spending a whole weekend with him. "Okay," I said, "yeah, I'll come." "Really?" He sounded genuinely excited, and that made my decision feel right. "Really, when would we leave?" "Friday the 18th. I'll book us a hotel, 2 rooms, obviously, unless you snore too much and I need to smother you with a pillow." "I told you I don't snore." "And I told you you totally do, but don't worry, it's cute, remember?" Cute, there was that word again. We hammered out the details. He'd book the hotel and rental car, I'd book my flight to meet him there. We'd have Friday evening and Saturday to ourselves, he'd work the wedding on Sunday, and then we'd fly home Monday morning. After we hung up, I sat staring at my computer screen, my code forgotten. I was going on a trip with David, a weekend trip, to one of the most romantic cities in the country. Tyler was going to have a field day with this. The 2 weeks before the trip dragged by with agonizing slowness. I tried to focus on work, on my normal routine, but I found myself constantly planning what to pack, looking up things to do in San Francisco, imagining what it would be like to spend 3 full days with David. Tyler was, as predicted, unbearable. "So this totally just friends trip," he said, air quotes and all. "Are you sharing a room?" "No, separate rooms. But adjoining." "I don't know, maybe, David's booking it." "Convenient, easy access for midnight visits." "Tyler, I swear to God. I'm just saying this is very romantic. San Francisco, city of love." "That's Paris." "Same difference, both have bridges and gay people." Despite his teasing, Tyler helped me pack, vetoing my first 3 outfit choices as too depressing and insisting I bring at least one nice outfit in case you go somewhere fancy. "We're not going anywhere fancy, it's just sightseeing." "Jordan, David is a photographer, he's going to want to take you to aesthetically beautiful places, you need to look good in photos." He had a point. The night before I left, I barely slept. I kept running through worst-case scenarios in my head. What if it was awkward? What if we ran out of things to talk about? What if spending time together in person made us realize we were better as long-distance friends? What if I accidentally let it slip that I had feelings for him and ruined everything? I was still anxious when I boarded my flight Friday morning, but the anxiety shifted to excitement as we landed in San Francisco. David had texted me that he'd already arrived and checked into the hotel and he'd meet me at baggage claim. I saw him before he saw me. He was leaning against a pillar, scrolling through his phone, and my breath caught. I'd almost forgotten how attractive he was in person. Photos and FaceTime didn't do him justice. He was wearing dark jeans and a gray Henley that fit him perfectly, his camera bag slung over his shoulder. Then he looked up, saw me, and his entire face lit up. "Jordan," he pushed off the pillar and closed the distance between us, pulling me into a hug that felt like coming home. "You made it. Did you think I'd chicken out?" "Little bit, yeah." He pulled back to look at me, his hands still on my shoulders. "You look good." "So do you," understatement of the century. We grabbed my bag and headed to the rental car, falling into easy conversation like no time had passed since we'd last seen each other. But there was something different too, an awareness, a tension that hadn't been there before, or maybe it had been and I just hadn't let myself acknowledge it. The hotel was in Union Square, a beautiful old building with an ornate lobby and a view of the city from our floor. David had booked us rooms side by side, though not adjoining, which I tried not to feel disappointed about. I figured we could drop off your stuff and then grab lunch, David suggested as we rode the elevator up. I'm starving. Sounds perfect. My room was small but nice with a comfortable-looking bed and a window overlooking the street. I threw my bag on the bed and freshened up quickly, then met David back in the hallway. Ready? He asked. Ready. We spent the afternoon exploring the city, walking through Chinatown, riding a cable car up and down the steep hills, stopping at a little Italian place for lunch where we shared a pizza and argued good-naturedly about whether pineapple belonged on pizza. I said yes. He said no. We agreed to disagree. David had his camera with him and he kept stopping to take photos of the buildings, the people, the street art, and of me when I wasn't paying attention. Stop that, I said when I caught him aiming the camera at me for the third time. Why, you're photogenic. I'm really not. Yes, you are. You have good bone structure. The camera loves you. I felt my face heat. You're just saying that. I'm a professional photographer, Jordan. I know a good subject when I see one. He lowered the camera and looked at me directly. Trust me. We kept walking and I tried to ignore the way my heart was beating too fast, the way I was hyper-aware of every time our hands accidentally brushed as we walked side by side. That evening, we had dinner at a seafood restaurant near the wharf, sitting outside as the sun set over the bay. David told me about the wedding he was shooting on Sunday, a couple who'd been together for 10 years and were finally making it official. That's sweet, I said. Do you ever get emotional at weddings? Sometimes, especially when you can tell it's real, when they look at each other and you can see the love. He paused, playing with his water glass. It makes me wonder if I gave up my chance at that. The engagement you ended. Yeah, sometimes I think about what my life would look like if I'd gone through with it, if I'd be happy, settled. Maybe with a kid on the way like he has now. Do you regret it? No, but I wonder, what if? I get that. I wonder sometimes too, about Chris, not because I miss him, but because I wonder if I'm capable of that kind of relationship, if I can trust someone enough to really let them in. David reached across the table and took my hand. The touch was casual, friendly, but it sent electricity shooting up my arm. You are, he said firmly. Chris was an idiot who didn't deserve you. The right person will see how incredible you are. I wanted to ask if he saw it, if he knew how incredible I thought he was, but I couldn't make the words come out. We walked back to the hotel along the Embarcadero, the city lights reflecting off the water, and I wished the evening didn't have to end. At the hotel, we stood outside our respective rooms, neither of us making a move to go inside. Today was really great, David said. Yeah, it was. Want to get breakfast tomorrow and then explore more? Definitely. Cool. Well, good night, Jordan. Good night, David. I went into my room and immediately texted Tyler, day 1 complete, no disasters yet. His response came immediately, have you kissed him yet? No, we're friends. Sure you are, smirking face. I threw my phone on the bed and tried not to think about kissing David, about what it would feel like to close the distance between us and... No, not going there. I took a cold shower and went to bed, and definitely didn't dream about blue eyes and the feeling of his hand in mine. Saturday dawned bright and clear, the kind of perfect San Francisco day that felt almost too good to be true. David knocked on my door at 9, 2 cups of coffee in hand. I come bearing caffeine, he announced when I opened the door still in my pajamas. You're my hero, I accepted the coffee gratefully. Give me 10 minutes to get ready. Take your time, I'll wait in the lobby. I got ready in record time, throwing on jeans and a blue button-down that Tyler had insisted I pack. When I came down, David was sitting in the lobby scrolling through his phone, but he looked up when I approached and smiled. You wore the blue shirt, good choice. How did you know I did? Tyler text you? Maybe he might have sent me photos of your packing options and asked for my opinion. I'm going to kill him. Don't. I appreciate his dedication to making sure you look good. David stood and gestured to the door, ready to see the Golden Gate Bridge. We took an Uber across the city, and I tried not to be too obvious about the way I kept glancing at David. He was wearing a dark green jacket that made his eyes look even bluer, and he'd done something different with his hair that made him look unfairly handsome. The bridge was stunning, rising out of the morning fog like something from a dream. We walked partway across it, stopping frequently so David could take photos of the bridge, the bay, the city skyline in the distance. And of me constantly. I already have like 50 photos of me, I complained as he aimed the camera at me again. And I'll take 50 more. Stop complaining and lean against that railing. I did as he asked, and he snapped several photos, moving around to get different angles. Now look out at the water, he instructed, like you're thinking deep thoughts. What kind of deep thoughts? I don't know. Philosophy, the meaning of life, what you're going to have for lunch. I laughed and I heard the camera shutter click rapidly. Perfect, David said, lowering the camera and coming to stand beside me at the railing. You have a great laugh. It's very photogenic. You just like taking pictures of people when they're not ready. I like taking pictures of authentic moments, and you're very authentic, Jordan. You don't put on a show or try to be someone you're not. It's refreshing. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just looked out at the water, very aware of how close David was standing, how I could feel the warmth of him even through my jacket. Can I ask you something? David said after a moment. Sure. Why did you agree to come on this trip? The question caught me off guard. What do you mean? I mean, we barely know each other. We had one evening together and then we've been texting for a month. This is kind of a big step, so I'm curious, why did you say yes? I thought about lying, about giving some casual answer, but David had been honest with me, vulnerable, and I owed him the same. Because I like spending time with you, I said carefully. Even just texting or on the phone, you make me feel, I don't know, seen, understood, like I'm not just going through the motions of life but actually living it. Yeah, David said softly. Yeah, I get that. You make me feel the same way. Really? Really, I've been doing this job for 8 years, traveling constantly, meeting new people all the time, and most of it's great, but it's also lonely sometimes. People are in and out of my life so quickly that I don't really form deep connections, but with you, I don't know. From that first night, it felt different. My heart was pounding. Different how? Like maybe I'd found someone worth staying still for. The words hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. I turned to look at him and he was already looking at me, his blue eyes intense. David. I know we said we were friends, he interrupted. And we are, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't want more than that. I've wanted it since that night at your apartment, and spending time with you now, it's making it really hard to pretend I don't. I couldn't breathe. Why didn't you say something before? Because you live in a different city, because I travel for work constantly, because long distance is complicated and messy and I didn't want to put that on you, but Jordan, I can't keep pretending I'm not falling for you. Falling, he said, falling, present tense. I'm falling for you too, I admitted, the words tumbling out. I have been since that first night, maybe before that even, I don't know, but David, you're right, this is complicated. You travel all the time, I have my life in my city, and what if we try this and it doesn't work? What if we ruin the friendship? Or what if it does work? What if we're amazing together? We won't know unless we try. He had a point. I'm scared, I admitted. Me too, but I think you're worth being scared for. And then, before I could overthink it, before I could talk myself out of it, I kissed him. It was tentative at first, just a soft press of lips testing. But then David's hand came up to cup my face, his thumb brushing my cheek, and he kissed me back with a certainty that made my knees weak. He tasted like coffee and mint, and he kissed like he did everything else, with complete focus and attention, like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. I lost myself in it, in the feeling of his mouth on mine, his other hand finding my waist and pulling me closer. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. Wow, David said. Yeah, wow. So that happened. It did. Want to do it again? Instead of answering, I kissed him again, and this time there was no hesitation, no uncertainty. Just the two of us on the Golden Gate Bridge, kissing like we'd been doing it forever, like we were the only two people in the world. A passing tourist wolf whistled, and we broke apart laughing. "We should probably go," David said, but he didn't move away, kept his arms around me. "Probably. Or we could stay here and scandalize more tourists." "Tempting, but I'm getting hungry." "Food it is, but Jordan." "Yes. We're doing this right, trying for real." I looked at him, at this beautiful, kind, talented man who made me laugh and challenged me and saw me in a way no one else ever had, and I knew there was only one answer I could give. "Yeah, we're doing this." His smile was brighter than the sun. We spent the rest of Saturday in a daze, walking through the city hand in hand, stopping to kiss at random intervals like we were making up for lost time. We had lunch at a little cafe in the Mission, visited the Japanese tea garden, and ended up at Ocean Beach as the sun was setting, watching the waves crash against the shore. "I can't believe this is real," I said, leaning back against David's chest as he wrapped his arms around me from behind. "Which part, the beach or the fact that I'm holding you?" "Both, all of it. This morning I woke up thinking we were just friends, and now I'm your boyfriend," he said it like a question, uncertain. "Are you my boyfriend?" "I'd like to be, if you want that too." "I want that, definitely want that." I turned in his arms to face him. "But David, what does this actually look like? You live in Seattle, I live across the country, you travel constantly for work." "I know, it's not ideal, but we can make it work. Video calls, visits when we can manage it. Texting constantly like we already do, it won't be easy, but I think we're worth the effort." "What if it's too hard? What if we can't handle the distance?" "Then we'll figure it out when we get there." "But Jordan, I don't want to not try just because we're scared it might not work. I'd rather try and fail than spend the rest of my life wondering what if." He was right, he was always right. "Okay," I said, "let's do this for real." We sealed it with a kiss as the sun sank below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple. That night we had dinner at a romantic restaurant in North Beach, sitting across from each other in a candle-lit corner booth. David held my hand across the table, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. "Tell me something I don't know about you," he said. "Like what?" "Anything, something you've never told anyone." I thought about it. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. I had this whole plan. I'd study physics, join the Air Force, train at NASA. I even went to space camp when I was 12. "Really, what happened?" "I discovered I get motion sickness really easily, like can't even ride a roller coaster level motion sickness, kind of a deal breaker for astronaut dreams." David laughed. "That's adorable and also tragic." "Your turn, something I don't know." He considered for a moment. "I have a journal where I write letters to my future self. Started it when I was 16. I write one on my birthday every year talking about what I've learned, what I hope for the year ahead. Then I read the previous year's letter and see how much I got right." "That's actually really cool." What did 16-year-old David hope for? That I'd figure out who I was, that I'd be brave enough to be honest about it, that I'd find someone who made me feel less alone. He squeezed my hand. I think 16-year-old David would be pretty happy with how things turned out. My chest felt tight with emotion. "Can I tell you something else? Something I haven't told anyone, not even Tyler." "Of course." I took a deep breath. "That night you stayed at our apartment after you left, I sat on the couch for like an hour just thinking about you, and I realized that in the span of a few hours you'd made me feel more alive than I'd felt in months. Maybe years. It scared me because I didn't think I'd see you again, and I was already half in love with you." David's eyes were bright in the candlelight. "Half in love." "Maybe more than half." "Jordan." "I know it's fast, I know it's crazy, but I can't help how I feel." "It's not crazy, I felt it too. That night lying on your couch I kept thinking that I didn't want to leave, that for the first time in years I wanted to stay in one place, because you were there." We were both quiet for a moment, the weight of our confessions settling over us. "This is really happening, isn't it?" I said. "Yeah, it really is." After dinner, we walked back to the hotel slowly, not ready for the night to end. In the elevator, David pulled me close and kissed me, soft and sweet, and I felt like I was floating. We stopped outside our rooms, neither of us making a move to unlock our doors. I don't want to go to bed yet, David admitted. Me neither. Want to come to my room just to talk or watch a movie or whatever. The whatever hung in the air between us, full of possibility. Yeah, I said, I'd like that. David's room was identical to mine, but it felt different somehow, more intimate. We sat on the bed, backs against the headboard, and David pulled up a movie on his laptop, but neither of us was really watching it. Instead, we talked about everything and nothing, about our childhoods and our families and our dreams, about the things that scared us and the things that excited us. I'm scared of losing you, David admitted at some point, his head on my shoulder. Now that I have you, I'm terrified something will go wrong. I'm scared too, but David, whatever happens, we'll face it together, okay? Okay. Somewhere around midnight, we both started to doze off. I should have gone back to my room, but David's arms were around me and his heartbeat was steady under my ear, and I didn't want to move. Stay, he mumbled, half asleep, don't go. Are you sure? Please. So I stayed. We shifted until we were lying down properly, David's back to my chest, my arm around his waist. It felt natural, right, like we'd been sleeping like this for years instead of hours. Jordan, David whispered into the darkness. Yes. Thank you for taking a chance on me. Thank you for being worth taking a chance on. He laced his fingers through mine and I felt him relax into sleep. I lay there for a while longer, listening to him breathe, marveling at how my life had changed in the span of a single day. I'd come to San Francisco as David's friend, I was leaving as his boyfriend. And somehow, that felt like the most natural thing in the world. Sunday morning, I woke up tangled in David, sunlight streaming through the windows. For a moment, I was disoriented. This wasn't my room, this wasn't my bed. Then David shifted beside me, mumbling something incoherent, and it all came flooding back. I was in David's room, in David's bed, and David was my boyfriend. My boyfriend, the word still felt surreal. I checked my phone, 8:32 a.m. David had to be at the wedding venue by noon for setup and prep, which meant we had a few hours. Morning, David said, his voice rough with sleep. He rolled over to face me, his hair sticking up in every direction, and smiled. You stayed. You asked me to. I was half asleep, I wasn't sure if I dreamed that part. Not a dream, I'm really here. He leaned in and kissed me, slow and lazy, and I thought I could get very used to waking up like this. I have to work today, he said regretfully when we broke apart. The wedding, but it should be done by 6 and then we'll have tonight. I could come with you if that's allowed, I could be your assistant or something. David's eyes lit up. Really, you'd want to do that? I want to see you work, see what you're like in your element. Okay, yeah, I'd love that, but I should warn you, weddings are long and exhausting and you'll be bored out of your mind. I doubt that. I was not bored. Watching David work was fascinating. He was completely in his element, moving through the venue with confidence, setting up his equipment, charming the wedding party, capturing moments I would have completely missed. He'd given me a small digital camera and told me to take candid shots of guests arriving, and I found myself enjoying it, trying to see the world through his photographer's eyes. The ceremony was beautiful, a small affair in a garden overlooking the bay, just 50 guests watching as two women exchanged vows. David moved around them like a ghost, present but unobtrusive, capturing every tear, every smile, every meaningful glance. During the reception, while David was doing formal portraits, I sat at a table editing some of the photos he'd already taken on his laptop. The couple had specifically requested to see some shots before the end of the night, and David had asked if I could help cull through them. Looking for anything that's out of focus or poorly composed, he'd instructed, and flag any that you think are particularly good. It was harder than I'd expected. Almost all of them were good. David was incredibly talented. But I did my best, marking my favorites, and I was so focused that I didn't notice someone approaching until they spoke. You must be Jordan. I looked up to find one of the brides standing there, still in her wedding dress, smiling at me. Hi, yes, sorry, I should probably not be sitting here. No, it's fine, David told me you were helping today, I'm Michelle. Congratulations on your wedding, it was beautiful. Thank you, David's been great. He really captures the emotion of things, you know. She glanced around, then leaned in conspiratorially. He also won't stop talking about you. What? During the prep earlier, he mentioned he was seeing someone new, said you were special, smart, funny, patient with his crazy schedule. She smiled. I haven't seen him this happy in the 3 years I've known him. You've known David for 3 years. He shot my sister's wedding, we've stayed friends, and trust me, I've seen him go through a lot of phases, a lot of almost relationships. This is different, you're different. I didn't know what to say to that. Just don't let the distance thing scare you, Michelle continued. My wife and I did long distance for 2 years before she moved here. It's hard, but it's worth it for the right person. Thanks, I'll keep that in mind. She patted my shoulder and went back to her reception, leaving me to think about what she'd said. David found me a few hours later after the formal events were over and the dancing had started. I was standing to the side, watching guests celebrate, and he came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. Hey, he said, pressing a kiss to my temple, how are you holding up? Good, a little tired but good. You were amazing today, by the way, the photos are incredible. You think so? I know so, these people are going to treasure these forever. That's the goal, he rested his chin on my shoulder. Thank you for being here, for helping, it made the day better having you here. I like seeing you work, you're very in your element. I am, but I'm ready to be done for the day, ready to just be with you. We stayed until the reception ended, helping David pack up his equipment and load it into the rental car. Then we drove back to the hotel, both of us exhausted but happy. In the elevator, David pulled me close and kissed me. One more night, he said, then we both fly home tomorrow. I don't want to think about that yet. Me neither, let's just enjoy tonight. We ordered room service and ate in David's bed, watching mindless TV and talking about the wedding. David showed me more of the photos he'd taken, pointing out technical details I never would have noticed, the way the light caught someone's face, the composition of a particular shot. You really love this, I observed. I do, it's the only thing I've ever been good at. That's not true, you're good at lots of things. Like what? Making people feel comfortable, seeing the beauty in everyday moments, making me fall for you. He smiled, that last one wasn't hard, you're kind of easy to fall for, Jordan. Right back at you. We fell asleep early, wrapped around each other, and I tried not to think about the fact that tomorrow we'd be going back to our separate lives, our separate cities. Tried and failed. Monday morning came too soon. We had to check out by 11 and our flights were both in the early afternoon, mine at 1:30, David's at 2. We debated taking the same flight, but his went to Seattle while mine went home, and there was no avoiding the fact that we were heading in opposite directions. We had breakfast in the hotel restaurant, neither of us saying much. The weekend felt like it had passed in a blink and now reality was crashing back in. This doesn't have to change anything, David said as we finished eating. We'll still text every day, still call, we'll visit each other, it'll be just like before except now we can actually acknowledge how we feel. Right, exactly. But it didn't feel like before. Before, the distance between us hadn't mattered because we were just friends. Now every mile felt like a weight. We took a lift to the airport together, sitting in the back seat with our hands intertwined, neither of us willing to let go. At the terminal, we had to part ways, different airlines, different gates. This is me, I said, stopping outside the security checkpoint for my airline. Okay. We stood there, neither of us moving. I don't want to say goodbye, I admitted. Then don't say see you later. When will I see you later? I don't know, soon. I'll figure out my schedule and we'll plan something. Maybe you can come visit me in Seattle or I can come to you. Yeah, okay. But I could hear the uncertainty in both our voices, the reality of long-distance relationships starting to sink in. David pulled me into a hug and I buried my face in his neck, breathing him in. I meant what I said, he whispered, about this being worth it, about you being worth it. I know I meant it too. We'll make this work, Jordan, I promise. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that we could sustain this on texts and phone calls and occasional visits. But I'd been burned before, had learned the hard way that good intentions weren't always enough. I should go, I said, pulling back. Don't want to miss my flight. Right, yeah. One more kiss, quick and bittersweet, and then I forced myself to walk away. I looked back once and saw David still standing there watching me, his expression sad. I waved, he waved back. And then I went through security and headed to my gate, feeling like I was leaving a piece of myself behind. The flight home was turbulent, which matched my mood perfectly. I stared out the window at the clouds and thought about the past 3 days, about how quickly everything had changed. When I landed, Tyler was waiting at baggage claim. Hey, he pulled me into a hug. How was San Francisco? Did you wait? He pulled back, studying my face. What happened? You look sad. I'm not sad, just tired. Jordan, I've known you for 3 years. I can tell when you're lying. What happened? Can we talk about it at home? The drive back to our apartment was quiet. Tyler kept shooting me concerned glances, but he didn't push, and I was grateful for that. Once we were home, I collapsed on the couch, the same couch where I'd been sitting when David first walked into my life, and Tyler sat beside me. Okay, he said, talk to me, what happened? So I told him about kissing David on the Golden Gate Bridge, about spending the weekend together, about becoming official, about the goodbye at the airport and the reality of long distance. Wait, back up, Tyler said. You're dating David, like officially dating. Yeah. Jordan, that's amazing. Why do you look like someone died? Because he lives in Seattle, because he travels constantly for work, because I've already been through this, the long distance thing with Chris, and it didn't work. Chris cheated on you. That had nothing to do with distance and everything to do with him being a garbage human. Maybe, but Tyler, what if we can't make this work? What if the distance is too much? What if I just set myself up to get hurt again? Tyler was quiet for a moment, then he said, do you love him? What? We've only been together for like 2 days. That's not what I asked, do you love him? I thought about David's smile, his laugh, the way he looked at me like I was important, the way he made me want to be brave. Yeah, I admitted quietly, I think I do. Then it's worth the risk. Jordan, you can't protect yourself from getting hurt by refusing to let yourself feel. That's not living, that's just existing. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise, you just never listened to me. I threw a pillow at him and he caught it, laughing. My phone buzzed, a text from David, landed safely, miss you already. I showed Tyler and he smiled, see, he's already texting you, you're going to be fine. I wanted to believe that. I texted back, miss you too, call later. Definitely, I love you. I stared at those 3 words for a full minute. I love you. He loved me, David loved me. I love you too, I typed back and hit send before I could overthink it. Tyler was reading over my shoulder. Oh my God, you guys are already saying I love you, it's been 2 days. Technically, it's been 2 months if you count the texting. That's still fast. Maybe, but it feels right. And it did, despite the distance, despite the uncertainty, despite all my fears, it felt right. The first 2 weeks after San Francisco were hard. David and I texted constantly just like before, but now every message felt bittersweet. Good morning texts reminded me I was waking up alone. Photos of his day made me wish I was there to experience it with him. Good night calls left me feeling hollow when we hung up. We video called every night, sometimes for hours, but it wasn't the same as being in the same room. I couldn't reach out and touch him, couldn't kiss him, couldn't fall asleep in his arms. How are you holding up? Tyler asked one evening, finding me on the couch with my laptop on a video call with David. Hanging in there, I said. Hi Tyler, David called from the screen. Hey David, taking care of my roommate. Doing my best, how's he seem to you? Pathetic and lovesick. Hey, I protested. It's true, you mope around the apartment like a sad puppy, it's very tragic and romantic. David laughed, he does the same thing to me, won't stop talking about how much he misses you. I do not mope, I said. You absolutely mope, they said in unison. After Tyler left us alone, David's expression turned serious. He's right though, we need to figure out when we can see each other again. This is harder than I thought it would be. I know, I keep thinking about San Francisco and wishing we were still there. What if you came to Seattle? I have a wedding in 3 weeks, but the weekend after that I'm free. You could fly in Friday night, stay through Sunday. That's almost a month away. I know, but it's better than nothing. He was right, I booked the flight that night. The month passed slowly. Work helped, I threw myself into projects, taking on extra clients, anything to keep my mind busy. But at night, when I was alone in my room, I'd lie in bed and think about David, wondering if he was thinking about me too. We fell into a routine. Morning texts while we had our coffee, quick check-ins throughout the day, long video calls at night where we'd have dinner together, each of us eating in front of our cameras, pretending the distance wasn't there. "What are you having?" David asked one night. "Leftover pizza, you." "Salad, I'm trying to be healthy." "Salad is just a vehicle for dressing and croutons." "That's exactly what it is, but I'm trying to pretend I'm a functional adult who eats vegetables." "How's that going for you?" "Terribly, I hate this salad, tell me about your day." And we'd talk for hours about work and life and random thoughts, and for a little while the distance didn't matter. But then we'd say goodnight and hang up, and I'd be alone again. 3 weeks after San Francisco, David called me in the middle of the day, which was unusual. He usually had shoots or meetings during work hours. "Hey," I answered, "everything okay?" "Yeah, great, actually I have news." "Good news or bad news?" "Good news, great news. I got offered a contract job, 3 months shooting for a travel magazine. They want me to do a whole series on Pacific Northwest destinations." "David, that's amazing, congratulations." "Thanks, the thing is, it's based out of Seattle, which means I won't have to travel as much, I'll be home most nights." "That's perfect, you've been wanting to slow down a bit." "Yeah, and it means we could see each other more often. You could come visit more easily, or I could fly to you on weekends. It's not perfect, but it's better than it's been." "When does it start?" "In a month, which brings me to the other thing I wanted to talk to you about." "Okay." "Move to Seattle." I nearly dropped my phone. "What? Move to Seattle? Move in with me? I know it's fast, I know it's crazy, but Jordan, this long-distance thing is killing me. I want to wake up next to you every day. I want to come home to you. I want us to actually be together, not just on screens." My heart was racing. "David, I can't just, I have my job, my apartment, my life here." "You work from home, you can do that from anywhere, and you're not tied to your apartment, you're month to month. Tyler will find a new roommate. Jordan, I'm not saying it would be easy, but it's possible if you want it." Did I want it? God, yes, I wanted it more than anything. But it was terrifying. "Can I think about it?" I asked. There was a pause, and I could hear the disappointment in David's voice when he spoke. "Of course, take all the time you need." After we hung up, I sat staring at my phone for a long time. Move to Seattle, move in with David, uproot my entire life for a relationship that was barely 2 months old. It was insane. It was also everything I wanted. I found Tyler in the kitchen making dinner. "David asked me to move to Seattle," I blurted out. Tyler's eyes widened. "What, when?" "Just now, on the phone, he wants me to move in with him." "And what did you say?" "That I'd think about it." "Okay, so think about it, what do you want to do?" "I don't know, it's crazy, right? Moving across the country for someone I've technically only been dating for 2 months. Is it crazy or is it brave? Those aren't mutually exclusive." Tyler set down the spoon he was holding and turned to face me fully. "Jordan, do you love him?" "Yes." "Can you see a future with him?" "Yes." "Can you see yourself being happy in Seattle?" I thought about it, really thought about it. Seattle was beautiful. I'd looked at photos, read about the city while daydreaming about visiting David. The tech scene was good, which meant job opportunities, and most importantly, David was there. "Yeah," I said, "I think I could be happy there." "Then what's stopping you?" "Fear. What if it doesn't work out? What if I move there and we break up and I'm stuck in a city where I don't know anyone?" "What if it does work out? What if you move there and it's amazing and you build a beautiful life together? You can't make decisions based on worst-case scenarios or you'll never do anything." He had a point. "When did you get so good at relationship advice?" I asked. "I watch a lot of romantic comedies, they're very educational." That night, I lay in bed and thought about what moving to Seattle would mean. Leaving Tyler, leaving the apartment, leaving the familiar for the unknown. But also waking up next to David every morning, coming home to him every night, building a life together instead of trying to sustain one across thousands of miles. At 2 a.m., I texted David, "Are you awake?" His response came immediately, "Yeah, can't sleep thinking about you. Can we video call?" 30 seconds later, his face filled my screen. He looked tired, worried. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey, I've been thinking about your offer. And I have some questions, logistical stuff, like would I be moving into your place? How big is it? Would I have space for a home office? What about my stuff?" Hope bloomed on his face. Are you considering it?" "I'm terrified, but yeah, I'm considering it. My apartment is 2 bedrooms. We could turn the second bedroom into an office for you, and it's furnished, but we can make space for your stuff or get rid of mine, whatever you want. Jordan, if you're really thinking about this, we can figure out all the details. What if it doesn't work? What if we're better at distance than we are living together? Then we'll figure that out too, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to be amazing together." I wanted to believe that. "Give me a few days," I said, "to really think about it, make a plan, but David, I'm leaning toward yes." His smile was brilliant. "Yeah. Yeah. I love you so much. I love you too." After we hung up, I opened my laptop and started making a list: pros and cons, logistics, what I'd need to do to make this work. By the time the sun came up, I'd made my decision. I was moving to Seattle. I gave myself 2 weeks to plan. First, I told Tyler. He was supportive but sad, which I'd expected. "I'm going to miss you," he said. "This apartment won't be the same without you." "I'll miss you too, but you'll visit, right? Try and stop me. I want to see this amazing relationship you're upending your life for." Next, I told my clients that I'd be relocating but would continue to work with them remotely. Most were fine with it. I'd been remote the entire time anyway. I looked into breaking my lease and found I could do it with a month's notice and a small fee. I started selling furniture I didn't need, packing up the things I wanted to keep, making arrangements to ship boxes to David's apartment. David and I talked every night planning. He sent me photos of his apartment, measured the second bedroom so I'd know how much space I'd have for my desk and equipment. We talked about neighborhood amenities, where to buy groceries, the best coffee shops. "I can't believe this is really happening," David said one night, a week before I was supposed to fly out. "Getting cold feet." "No, the opposite. I'm so excited I can barely stand it." "Jordan, you're really doing this. You're really moving here." "I'm really doing this. I love you. I love you too." The night before I left, Tyler threw me a small going-away party. Just a few friends from the area, nothing big. We ordered too much pizza and drank cheap wine, and everyone told embarrassing stories about me. "Remember when Jordan tried to cook Thanksgiving dinner and set off the smoke alarm 3 times?" Tyler said. "That turkey was defective. It was frozen solid because you forgot to thaw it." Details. Later, after everyone had left, Tyler and I sat on the couch, the same couch where this had all started. "You're sure about this?" he asked. "I'm terrified, but yeah, I'm sure." "Good, because David's a good guy and you deserve someone who makes you happy. Just promise me you'll call if you need anything." "I promise." "And promise me you'll be careful. Moving in together is a big step. Don't lose yourself trying to make him happy." "I won't." "Tyler, thank you for everything, for being my friend, for supporting this, for not thinking I'm crazy." "Oh, I definitely think you're crazy, but it's the good kind of crazy." The next morning, Tyler drove me to the airport. My flight was at noon and David was picking me up in Seattle at 3. "This is it," I said as we pulled up to departures. "This is it, go get your man." He helped me unload my suitcases. I'd shipped most of my stuff ahead, but I still had 2 large bags with essentials, and pulled me into a hug. "I'm proud of you," he said, "for being brave enough to do this." "Thanks, Ty. Now go and text me when you land so I know David didn't murder you." "He's not going to murder me." "Probably not, but you never know." The flight felt endless. I was too nervous to read, too anxious to sleep. I just sat there staring out the window, thinking about what I was doing. I was moving to a new city for a guy I'd been officially dating for 2 months. It was insane, it was reckless. It was the best decision I'd ever made. When we landed, I grabbed my bags and headed out to arrivals, scanning the crowd for David. And then I saw him. He was standing by the pickup area holding a sign that said Jordan, MY boyfriend, the love of MY life in big letters, grinning like an idiot. I started laughing and crying at the same time, abandoning my bags to run to him. He caught me, lifting me off my feet, and I wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed him. "Hi," I said when we broke apart. "Hi, welcome home." Home, Seattle was home now. Wherever David was home. "Ready for this?" he asked. "Ready." We loaded my bags into his car and drove to our apartment. It was in Capitol Hill, a charming neighborhood with tree-lined streets and local coffee shops and rainbow flags hanging from windows. The apartment itself was on the third floor of an older building with hardwood floors and big windows that let in lots of natural light. David gave me the tour: living room, kitchen, bathroom, his bedroom, the second bedroom that was now my office. He'd cleared space in the closet for my clothes, added a second nightstand in the bedroom, bought a new desk for the office. "I wanted you to feel like this was your space too," he said, "not just my place that you're staying in." "It's perfect, David, it's perfect." We spent the evening unpacking my suitcases, ordering takeout, and christening our home. And later, lying in bed with David's arms around me, I thought about how far I'd come from that night he'd first stayed on my couch. "Thank you," David whispered into the darkness. "For what?" "For taking a chance on me, on us, for being brave enough to do this. Thank you for asking me to, for making me feel like I was worth the leap. You're worth everything." I fell asleep that night feeling more at peace than I had in months, maybe years. I was home. The first few weeks in Seattle were an adjustment. I loved living with David, waking up next to him, cooking dinner together, falling asleep in his arms every night. But I also had to get used to sharing my space, navigating someone else's habits and routines. David was a morning person. I was decidedly not. He liked to go for runs at 6 a.m. while I preferred to stay in bed until at least 8. He was meticulously organized, everything in its place, while I tended toward creative chaos. We had our first fight 3 weeks after I moved in over something stupid. I'd left my coffee mug on the bathroom counter instead of putting it in the dishwasher, and David had made a comment about how it was the third time that week. "I'm working on it," I'd snapped, defensive. "I know, I'm just saying." "Well, maybe I don't need you to constantly point out every little thing I do wrong. I'm not Jordan, that's not what I'm doing." "Feels like it." We'd gone to separate rooms, both frustrated, and I'd sat in my office wondering if I'd made a mistake, if moving in together too fast had ruined what we had. But then David had knocked on my door an hour later. "Can we talk?" he'd asked. "Yeah." We'd sat on my office floor, across from each other, and talked it out. David explained that he wasn't trying to criticize me, that he just valued organization and was still learning how to live with someone again after years of being alone. I explained that I was trying my best but that I needed time to adjust, and that constant reminders made me feel like I was failing. "I don't want you to feel that way," David had said. "I'm sorry, I'll work on being more patient. And I'll work on being more mindful about the shared spaces." We'd kissed and made up, and I'd learned an important lesson: communication was everything. The fights were rare though, most days were good, great, even. I set up my home office and found that I was actually more productive working from our apartment than I had been in my old place. The change of scenery was inspiring, and knowing David was just in the next room made me happy in a way I couldn't quite explain. David's contract with the travel magazine was going well. He was home most nights, only traveling for a day or two at a time for specific shoots. We'd have dinner together, watch TV, talk about our days. On weekends, we'd explore the city together. David took me to his favorite spots: a coffee shop in Fremont with the best lattes, a bookstore in Queen Anne where you could get lost for hours, a hiking trail with a view of the Sound that took my breath away. "I can't believe I live here," I said one Saturday, standing at the top of that trail looking out at the water. "Do you like it, really?" "I love it, David, I really love it here." He pulled me close, kissed my temple. I'm glad. I was worried you'd regret moving. I don't, not even a little bit. 2 months after I moved in, Tyler came to visit. Okay, I need the full tour, he announced when we picked him up from the airport. And I need to inspect this apartment to make sure it's good enough for my former roommate. David laughed. Fair enough. Tyler approved of everything: the apartment, the neighborhood, the way David looked at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. You guys are disgustingly cute, he said over dinner that night at a Thai place near our apartment. Like, I wanna hate it but I can't, you're too happy. We are happy, I agreed, reaching for David's hand under the table. Good, because if he breaks your heart, I know where he lives now. Noted, David said, grinning. I'll make sure to treat him right. That night, after we'd set Tyler up on the couch with blankets and pillows, David and I lay in bed talking. I like Tyler, David said. I can see why you guys are such good friends. He's the best. I'm glad he approves of this, of us. Me too. David was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you something? Always. I've never been this happy, never, not with my ex, not in any of my previous relationships. This, what we have, it's different, better. I feel the same way. You make me want to be braver, David. You make me want to take risks and try new things and build a life that's bigger than just existing. We're building it together, that's what makes it work. I fell asleep that night thinking about how lucky I was, how a chance encounter, Tyler bringing his friend home to crash on our couch, had led to this, to love, to happiness, to a life I'd never imagined for myself. 6 months after I moved to Seattle, David and I were having breakfast on a Sunday morning, pancakes which I'd stress-baked the night before because I was nervous about a big client presentation, when he suddenly said, "Move in with me." I looked up from my pancakes. I already live with you. No, I mean really move in with me. This is still my apartment that you're living in. I want it to be our apartment. Officially, both our names on the lease, both of us contributing equally, making decisions together about how we want it to be. David, we already do that. I know, but I want it to be official. I want you to feel like this is as much your home as it is mine, because it is. Jordan, you're not my guest or my roommate, you're my partner, and I want our home to reflect that. My chest felt tight with emotion. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Yes. Yeah, let's make this official. We renewed the lease together the next month, both our names on the contract. It felt significant, like we were making a promise to each other that this was real, that we were building something lasting. Around the same time, I got a call from a former client asking if I'd be interested in a full-time position at their tech company. It would mean giving up freelancing, but it also meant stability, benefits, a regular paycheck. What do you think? I asked David that night. What do you want to do? I don't know. I've been freelancing for years, it's all I know. But I'm tired of the instability, of not knowing how much I'll make month to month, of constantly hustling for new clients. Then take the job. If you hate it, you can always go back to freelancing, but you won't know unless you try. I took the job, and I loved it, the structure, the team, the projects. I'd been scared of giving up my independence, but instead I found that having a regular routine actually gave me more freedom. I knew when I'd be working, which meant I knew when I'd be free. David and I could plan trips, make commitments, build a life around a schedule that wasn't constantly changing. We started talking about the future more seriously, about where we wanted to be in 5 years, 10 years, about whether we wanted to stay in Seattle or move somewhere else eventually, about marriage and kids and all the big life decisions we'd been avoiding because we were still figuring out how to be together. I want kids someday. David admitted one night. I know I said I didn't when I was engaged before, but I think I just wasn't ready then. Now I can see it, a family with you. I want that too, I said, maybe not right away, but someday, yeah. And marriage, is that something you want? With the right person, yes. And am I the right person? I looked at him, this beautiful, kind, talented man who'd somehow chosen me, and smiled. Yeah, you're definitely the right person. A year after I moved to Seattle, David surprised me with a weekend trip to San Francisco. We're going back to where it all started, he said as we boarded the plane. Technically, it all started at my apartment. True, but San Francisco is where we admitted how we felt, where we became official. I thought it would be nice to go back, see how far we've come. We stayed at the same hotel, explored the same places we'd gone that first weekend. But everything felt different now, deeper, more settled. We weren't two people testing the waters anymore. We were partners building a life together. On our last night, David took me back to the Golden Gate Bridge. "This is where I kissed you for the first time," he said as we stood at the same spot where we'd been a year ago. I remember, I thought my heart was going to beat out of my chest. "Mine too," he took both my hands in his. "Jordan, this past year has been the best year of my life, living with you, building a home with you, planning a future with you. It's everything I never knew I wanted." "David." "Wait, let me finish." He took a deep breath. "I know we said we wanted to get married someday, and I know it's only been a year since we got together, but I don't want to wait anymore. I don't need more time to know that you're it for me. You're my person, Jordan. You have been since the night I stayed on your couch." He let go of my hands and reached into his pocket, pulling out a small box. My heart stopped. "Jordan Mitchell, will you marry me?" I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at the ring in the box, a simple silver band that was so perfectly us it made my eyes sting. Yes, I managed. Yes, of course, yes. David's smile was brighter than the sun as he slid the ring onto my finger. Then he kissed me there on the Golden Gate Bridge, and I felt like my heart might actually explode from happiness. "I love you," he said against my lips. "I love you too, so much." We stood there for a long time holding each other, and I thought about how my life had changed in the span of a year. How one unexpected night with a stranger had led to this, to love, to partnership, to forever. "Can I tell you something?" David said eventually. "Always." "That night at your apartment when I was lying on your couch trying to sleep, I remember thinking that I didn't want to leave in the morning. That there was something about you, about the way you made me feel, that made me want to stay." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I thought I was crazy, we just met. But now I know I wasn't crazy, I was just recognizing what my heart already knew, that I'd found my person." I felt it too. That night after you left, I texted Tyler that I thought I just met someone special. He told me I was being dramatic. "What did you say?" "That he was probably right, but I wasn't being dramatic. You were special, you are special." We took a selfie there on the bridge, both of us grinning like idiots, my new ring catching the light. David posted it to Instagram with the caption, "He said yes. 1 year ago today we kissed on this bridge. Today I asked him to spend forever with me. I'm the luckiest man alive." The comments came flooding in, friends and family congratulating us, Tyler leaving approximately 17 heart emojis and a comment that said, "Finally. I've been waiting for this since day one." That night, we called everyone we loved to share the news. My parents, who'd come around to accepting my sexuality and now seemed genuinely happy for me. David's mom, who cried happy tears and immediately started talking about wedding planning. My sister, who demanded to know every detail. And Tyler, who answered the phone with, "About damn time." "You knew?" I asked. "Of course I knew. David asked for my blessing 2 weeks ago. I've been dying keeping this secret." "You're terrible at keeping secrets." "I know, it was torture, but Jordan, I'm so happy for you, for both of you. You deserve this." After all the calls, David and I lay in our hotel bed, my head on his chest, his fingers playing with my hair. "We're getting married," I said, still in disbelief. "We are." "When do you want to do it?" "Whenever you want, next month, next year, I don't care, I just want to marry you." "How about next summer? That gives us time to plan and the weather will be nice." "Next summer sounds perfect." We fell asleep planning our wedding, our future, our forever. Tyler officiated our wedding. We got married on a beach in Washington, a small ceremony with just our closest friends and family. I wore a navy blue suit, David wore gray, and when Tyler pronounced us married, we kissed as the sun set over the water. It was perfect. At the reception, Tyler gave a toast. "I've known Jordan for 4 years now," he said, raising his glass. "And in that time, I've watched him go from someone who was going through the motions of life to someone who's actively living it. And that's all because of David." He turned to David. "That night you stayed at our apartment, I knew something special was happening. I saw the way you two looked at each other, the way you clicked. And I'm not going to lie, I absolutely set this up on purpose. I told Jordan you needed a place to crash, but I could have easily gotten you a hotel. I just thought you two should meet." Tyler, I said laughing, you schemed. I schemed and it worked beautifully, you're welcome. Everyone laughed and Tyler continued. Jordan, you're my best friend and I've never seen you this happy. David, you've made him happier than I ever thought possible, and for that, I love you. Welcome to the family, man. To Jordan and David, someone called out and everyone raised their glasses. To Jordan and David. Later that night, David and I slow danced under string lights while our favorite song played. I can't believe we're married, I said. Believe it, you're stuck with me now. Good, I don't want to be anywhere else. Me neither, Jordan, thank you. For what? For saying yes that day on the bridge, for moving to Seattle, for taking a chance on us, for everything. Thank you for asking, for making me brave enough to leap. We leaped together. And we landed pretty well, I think. Yeah, we really did. As we danced, I thought about how far we'd come, from strangers to friends to boyfriends to husbands, from that first unexpected night to this perfect moment. What are you thinking about? David asked. How Tyler bringing you home that night changed my entire life. Mine too, best random Tuesday ever. It was a Thursday. Best random Thursday ever. I laughed and kissed him there on our wedding dance floor and thought about how sometimes the best things in life are the ones you never see coming. Sometimes your roommate brings home a friend who needs a place to crash. Sometimes that friend becomes the love of your life. Sometimes what happens after really does change everything.